FAA News at 6 starts now.
When this little girl was found dead, North Texans were furious. They wanted justice for Sherin Mathews. And tonight, for the first time, we're hearing from the man accused in her death, Sherin's father. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Lawrence. Wesley Mathews begged for forgiveness today and told a courtroom full of people his daughter choked on milk and died. But the one big question he had to answer, why didn't he call 911? Jobin Paniker has been following this case since it started. Jobin, what did we hear from Wesley Mathews on the stand?
You know, for most of this trial, Wesley has been pretty much void of emotion. And then today happens. He testifies, and it turned emotional. It turned, at some points, religious. At one point, at the very beginning of his testimony, he said, quote, "Please find it in your heart to forgive me. I detest myself." We want to show you some images from the courtroom. Wesley took the jury through what happened. He talked about the moment Sherin Mathews died, how she choked on milk, and the next moment her body was just lifeless. He then talks about placing her body in a place away from his wife and away from the home. He said he wanted to pray. He even turned biblical. He said, if God can raise Lazarus from death, God can raise Sherin. Ultimately, he says his actions were driven out of fear, and he is sorry.
Asking myself, why was I being driven by fear? If I had applied common sense, then most likely my child would be with me, my Sherin and my Shayna would be together, and none of us would be here today.
Now, Wesley says he was too shocked to call 911 because he was shocked about the death, and that he didn't even want to wake up his wife, who was a nurse at the time, because she wouldn't be able to take the news. Here are his last words from today's testimony.
It's just not fair that my heart still beats while my child's heart is not. Baby, I long to be with you in heaven. I just want to be with you, that's all. Where nobody can separate us anymore. I'm sorry for leaving you in the culvert and walking away. I'm just sorry.
Some very emotional testimony there from Wesley Mathews. Now, the defense spent a lot of time today showing home videos, showing family pictures, the defense trying to show Wesley as a family man. Now, tomorrow court starts again at 8:15. Now, the prosecution has a chance to cross-examine Wesley. In Dallas, I'm Jobin Paniker.
All right, thank you, Jobin. A lot of hearts have been breaking over this case. I think so many people wanted to know what happened. You know, so we take a look.